Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Gone Racin. Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan, and
already starting out laughing.
And the comedians. They're not behind the glass anymore.
Yeah, still behind the glass.
We're in a different studio.
Behind the glass.
DC. Even have my name on a jersey back
That's right.
here. You know, that's new. We got to find one with your name on the back of it now. An old Georgetown jersey or something.
We'll find. Maybe we'll do fire suit. Since we are Gone Racin, maybe we'll do fire suit.
Or did Big John even let you guys put names on the back?
No, Big John had names on the back of our uniforms.
Okay.
Yep, we had names.
Good. He wasn't like Joe Paterno. Remember Joe Paterno?
Yep, Joe Pod. No names on the uniforms.
Any names?
Yep. Nope. We had names and stuff like that, but we did not get to keep our jerseys.
Really?
Yep.
They just took the letters off and put somebody else's letters on the next year?
Don't know.
Took Gaughan off, put Iverson on.
We had new jerseys every year. No. Hey, listen. Yeah, didn't take Gaughan off, but I was 13, could have been 3, could have pulled the one off.
Well, okay. Yeah. You and Alan, could you guys have worn the same jersey? No,
I just made him go through jerseys.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
Practice jerseys.
That's right.
Practice.
I'm sure he loved practice.
Listen, you want to know why he hated practice? Hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you.
There you go. Okay. Enough.
It was fun
digressing about that. So, Brendan, it's been a couple weeks since we had a race, but
I showed up to the studio last week.
Yeah. By the way, we all appreciate your dedication. That you did show up 30 minutes before the no-show last week. So, probably wondering where I was and wondering why I was a meeting taking place in the studio.
Yeah. No, welcome to my life. I didn't have enough stuff going on. I ran down here on the week that we're off, but we are here now.
So we apologize to all of our SiriusXM listeners who did not get to hear our dulcet tones.
I'm sure they were crushed.
Week. I'm sure everybody missed the show last week. But if we had a show last week, we would have talked about the dominance of Kyle Larson at Bristol. Honestly, one of the most. Actually, I guess you could say Denny at Martinsville. And then Larson at Bristol have been very, very dominating performances.
And not one of it was the most dominant race ever at Bristol. Led 411 laps. Kyle Larson, absolutely a man amongst boys there, even with Denny. And, in the end, it was not really close. But, man, Kyle Larson just did a phenomenal job. And really, if you look, the cream has, Rose, Kyle, Denny, they were at the top. But then you look, those names that we've been talking about, those names that we've been scared, Jeff, to start betting on yet, they're starting to show up finally. Do they continue that trend as we go to
Talladega? You never know what you're going to get this weekend. Well, let's look at some of the odds that Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
He was plus 400 to win. Somebody on this show picked him to win
Somebody
last
did
week.
Pick him to win. I'm not going to say who it was.
Do not pick winners very often, but did pick Kyle Larson to win. He was plus 130 for a top 3, minus 125 head-to-head against Seabell. In Group A, he was plus 240, and he also brought Chevy the victory at plus 130. So a little bit of return there on Larson. Like I said, I just felt like he was going to dominate. I don't know why I felt like that.
Well, and when we talked in Group A, we talked about where he was in Group A, and you said, what we said, why would you, if you're going to take Kyle Larson,
was going to win.
Somebody in Group A is going to win. Well, take him to win. You're getting a better return. You did. You got a great return on that. So nice victory last weekend.
Well, and you talked about the top 10. We mentioned Larson. Denny Hamlin was second and gave a pretty good battle there. He was a plus 120. And Ty Gibbs.
There we go.
We've been talking about when is Ty Gibbs going to come back. And
what did I say last week about Ty Gibbs?
And is this enough for the he's done something for you lately to want to jump on the Ty Gibbs bandwagon? Because he was plus 550 for top 3, and he came home in third.
No, and I remember I was mentioning last week about Ty Gibbs. I said this is where he ran great the year before. So if there's a week that Ty's going to do it, and he did. He did a great job, had a great run most of the day. He ran near the front all day long, top 10s in both stages. So really good for him. And how about in fourth place right behind him? Chase Briscoe. We've said, when does Chase start? We need to start seeing something out of Chase. You mentioned how good Martin Truex Jr. was there. There you go. Chase Briscoe with a solid top 10, top 5 right there. So 2 Gibbs cars, 3 Gibbs cars in the top 5, 1 Hendrick car.
Yeah, and I think the other 2 names that kind of jump out in the top 10 for me are the guys that finished 9th and 10th.
Yeah.
A solid run for A.J. Allmendinger in 9th. And look, nobody probably needed a top 10 run any worse than Austin Dillon because it's been a rough go. It's been a
rough while over there. And Kyle Busch looked okay early and then faded a little bit, but it still came home with a 14th place finish. But AJ Allmendinger, Colin car is in all essence an RCR car. So 2 RCR cars there in the top 10. How about all 4 of the Gibbs cars though? Denny, Ty, Chase, and Seabell all top 10 or top 10 because Seabell was 8th. So I mean, hell of a run for them. Byron right there, 8th. The Hendrick car is still so strong. Ryan Blaney's still right there, but it was definitely a cream day. And you and I both think that Ty and Chase will start becoming cream. So that was they showed it at least at Bristol.
Well, let me ask you something else, and this is not specific to them, but we saw Denny really dominate at Martinsville. We saw Kyle Larson really dominate at Bristol. And we've seen actually over the last 2 or 3 years, some guys get ahead at these short tracks and just kind of run away from the field. It's something we used to see on the mile and a half tracks that we really don't see anymore. Is there a is there a solution to that the short track races get more competitive, or do you think these guys are just hitting on a perfect setup?
Look, the deal, I've said this since I was racing. That was one of the big knocks on Las Vegas Motor Speedway for a long time. 3rd race of the season, one team would be further ahead than anybody else. Back then it was Roush for all those years. And they would drive away and have a half-lap lead in the 3rd race of the season. Everybody goes, oh, that race sucked. Well, somebody gets it earlier. Now, the short track package, because
we're seeing this over the last 2 or 3 years.
In this car, the short track package has not been as good as the mile and a half. Look, the short track package has been great on every car up until this one. Now they have an issue. They've been bringing different tires. The tires helped at Richmond. The tires will, if they did that same thing here at Bristol, I think it would have helped. And I do believe the tire is the difference. I think the car is performing well. But look, when you got a guy in the zone that Denny was, or that Kyle was last week, or you got a guy that was in the zone the way Denny was the week before, it does not matter that it's a short track, that it's Darlington, that it's Bristol, that it's Vegas, Martinsville. It does not matter. When somebody is in that zone and they are that in tune, their car's that good, their team's that... It doesn't matter if it's 1st race, 3rd race, 15th race of the season, short track, long track. When you get people that are just that good with that great of stuff, there's nothing you can do to stop them. A flat tire, a blown motor.
Well, and certainly those guys have been dominant. And let's take a look at where we are in the standings right now. In terms of overall points, William Byron has got a pretty big lead actually on trying to win the regular season.
He is up there.
He's up by like 30 points, I believe, over Denny Hamlin. We've only got 5 drivers, though, that have visited Victory Lane over the course of the first 9 races. That's thanks to Christopher Bell winning 3 times and Hamlin and Larson with a couple of wins. So this has got to be now a weekend here at Talladega where if you're somebody that's on the outside looking in, and look, I know we don't, it's funny that the playoffs don't start until September, but you have to kind of remember that we've only got 17 races and so we're almost getting to the halfway point of the regular season. And if you're like Joey Logano, he's got to win a race the way he's going.
Joey Logano, I mean, if you look down at the points, if you look at both of our screens, he is way down there. You can't even find him on our screen. Joey Logano, I actually have to click on the point standings and go all the way down. Where is old Joey? Oh no, he's 8th. Sorry, he's up there. I was thinking somebody else, but I was meant in Josh Berry. If you look at Josh Berry, he shows 5th on our standings. Josh Berry is 5th. But he only has 176 points.
Right, he would be in 19th.
There you go.
I believe,
because he's 17th in points. Because of that win, Josh Berry has a chance. He's in the playoffs. I don't remember what was it, 2 years in a row. I made you the bet if we would get to 16 winners. We came close a couple of years. Josh Berry was a surprise winner at a place that we did not expect. But we have not got surprise winners anywhere else. I don't think that you're going to have a guy this year win and be in danger of not making the playoffs.
Oh,
so
if you win, you're getting in.
I think so.
Look,
this year,
look.
I remember we had that argument for a couple years on this show. I think this year you're safe, and because
7 wins between Bell, Hamlin, and Larson, and you don't think they're going to win some more races?
They're going to win some more. Trust
these
me.
guys are definitely going to win some more races.
But this is a weekend that look, if you like you said, if you're a guy like Ricky Stenhouse, you've Michael McDowell. You have circled these weekends. Austin Dillon, who's down in 6th in points. He's circled this weekend. Todd Gillen. Brad Keselowski, who's had a terrible season up to this point. Brad Keselowski's looking at this saying, I can win at Talladega, and I can get myself back into this playoff hunt and not have to worry about it and start getting some playoff points.
Well, and when you look at it right now, the difference between the guy in 16th and the guy in 17th is 32 points. Kyle Busch is in 16th right now. And then A.J. Allmendinger at 168 is 17th. So that is a big...
That's a big gap.
That's a very big gap. When you're only getting, unless you win, you're only getting 1 point.
Well, I mean, look, it's not as big as it used to be with the stage points, but it's still, that's a big gap. But look, Kyle Busch sitting 16th, remember Kyle Busch ran off a string last year where he disappeared for like 5 races in a row, went from like 11th in points to missing the playoffs. So by no means is 30 points safe.
Oh, no one is safe, and especially knowing where we're going this weekend. We also know there's still another trip to Daytona left to be done in the regular season, so definitely could be interesting. And speaking of the upcoming schedule, we just mentioned we do have Talladega this weekend, and then we have a big run on 1.5-mile tracks. Yep. We're going to go to Texas Motor Speedway. We're going to go to Kansas Speedway. Then we're actually going to have the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, but that's a non-points race. So I know you and I kind of just like, well, you know. And the All-Star race is a cool event.
It's a great event. Phenomenal. Love to watch it. Love to race in it.
But like we don't try to pick it and try to bet odds on it. It's very difficult. Then we have the Coca-Cola 600. I mean, that is like the test of endurance, as we all know, at Charlotte. And then a little earlier start this year at Nashville Super Speedway, a June 1 race in Nashville. That's about a 1.3 miles.
It's a mile. It's 1.3 mile concrete. Great track, fun to race on. So it's a unique place. It's Dover on steroids. It's a little bit bigger than Dover, just slightly less banking, but concrete, ton of grip, tough for the guys to get a hold of. To figure out, get a hold of. So it's a fun place to race.
Yeah, I was trying to think who we would compare a track like Nashville to. I mean, Gateway maybe a little bit.
No, because Gateway's so flat. But I mean, this place, high banking. It's a D-shaped oval like our Vegas.
It's like Richmond or Iowa. It's just a mile longer.
Just a mile and a third. And it's a big, bad to the bone place. So it's fun to race. It's fun to be at. And I think the guys, it was always one of my favorite stops.
Well, and one of the things after we get through Charlotte and this run on 1.5-mile tracks, we're going to see a lot of variety.
Back to the variety, like the start, like the start of the season.
Yes,
you have big variety. Then we get to this part, and then another big variety.
Yeah, but that's kind of what makes the whole NASCAR Cup Series exciting. Okay, we'll be back on Gone Racing in a few minutes, and we will give you the odds to win as well as the odds for top 3. Welcome back into Gone Racing. Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan here in our South Point studio. Our new studio. If you can see it on TV, we got all the jerseys back here behind us. A really, really big TV right behind us. That'd be great to watch like the Super Bowl.
We got the Motley on your side. We got the Barbary Coast on my side. I kind of dig the old Barbary Coast jersey.
Yeah, you know, it's funny that if you look, if people are watching us on TV, if you see the big screen behind us, it's so funny. My name is right behind Brendan, and then Brendan's name is right behind me. But I do have my Montreal Canadiens jersey, and no, I'm not from Canada, but a big shout out to my old buddy Dominique Fugere, who runs the Montreal Grand Prix and he used to work for Le Journal de Montreal. I did him a favor one day, and next thing I know,
shows up with
a jersey with my name.
He was a nice guy. Met him when I used to race Montreal. That was a fun place.
One of the all-time.
I loved racing Montreal. That place was so much fun, Motley.
But we're not at Montreal this week.
We are not Montreal.
We are
Montreal.
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 Don't even pronounce the T. Montreal. So we're at Keselowski Super Speedway this weekend, I believe, also known as Talladega, where Brad Keselowski
50%, Jeff.
Top 10s. 6 wins.
50%. You love to say crapshoot here, which, by the way, we've only said once so far, I think, or twice on air. Brought to you by. Oh, that's right. We haven't done our. We've been way too professional today.
You were going to put a big old box of.
I forgot those. I forgot all sorts of things this week, and Ann keeps reminding me. But you know, you'd love to say crapshoot here. How does a guy have 50% of the time?
Because Keselowski has some loaded dice, I believe. Because
we don't talk about loaded dice. Wrong building. We don't talk about loaded dice.
Right. This is his. I mean, look, he loves this type of racing. I mean, not only does he have 50% top 10s, he has almost 20% wins.
Dude, it's amazing. You look at his, and remember, this is where he had that amazing crash in the Phoenix racing car with
Carl Edwards,
I believe,
and the whole Edwards thing. Actually ran physically because he said he didn't know if the car had to cross the line or just the driver.
But I mean, he is phenomenal here. But you look at a lot of guys. I mean, there's some. Joey Logano's been great here in the past. Denny Hamlin, almost 50% top 10. You know, this place is not a crapshoot like you like to say. And there are guys that their stats show it. You know, all the way down, even to Kyle Busch, who doesn't like these places, who still has 10 top 10s and almost 40 races here. Him and Denny, 39 and 38 races leading the field right there to number of races at this place. So pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. And then when we get into the odds here, you know, we're going to kind of see that it's kind of anybody could win this thing. So let's take a look real quick. at our favorites to win the race here.
Guaranteed double digit.
Yes, we are definitely double digits at the top. Ryan Blaney comes in as our favorite. He is 10-1. And then we have Austin Cindric and Joey Logano. Both are 12-1. Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin are all 14. Chris Buescher, Christopher Bell, Bubba Wallace, and William Byron at 18. Kyle Larson, who has made no mistake about it, is not a fan of racing these type tracks, is 20-1, along with Tyler Reddick. And one note on Kyle Larson, and those of you who listen on SiriusXM, we record the show on Thursdays. Larson banged into the wall at Indianapolis during testing today, and pretty much he's now out of the car at Indy until Tuesday of race week, I guess, at Indianapolis
really?
now.
I didn't know that.
So Kyle Larson's trying to do the juggle going from Indy to Talladega this week, and you wonder if that'll have any effect on him at all.
Yeah, Larson, he's got 2 fourth place finishes here, and the rest are no bueno, as we say. Kyle has said it. He's given interviews where he says he doesn't like it. And you know how I believe about these places, Jeff. You have to like what you do here. If you don't, it's a long day. But the one that amuses me a little bit is you look at that Tyler Reddick number right there. Tyler Reddick, he's won this race last year. He is the winner of this race, the spring race at Talladega. So that's a pretty big number on the guy that's your reigning champion of this race, 20-1.
Yeah, and look, the guy we just talked about, a 6-time winner at 14-1.
And he's got pressure. And what does Brad do when there's pressure? Brad performs.
He does. And we also know how strong the Fords tend to run at Talladega. Because when you go through and you look at that list of winners, Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney and most of Keselowski's wins were in a Ford. I think maybe the first one wasn't in a Ford. So when you see how well the Fords do here, and then you've got a guy who the playing field really levels out when you get to Talladega, I think. And that's why I think Brad Keselowski, he and Joey Logano both, they really know how to work that
Brad
draft.
14-1, Tyler 20-1, Logano 12-1. But the problem is there's a lot of people in that range.
There are. And if you really say to yourself, I think, one of 4 or 5 guys are going to win. The problem is if somebody gets into a big wreck.
It's like you said, it's your crapshoot, your favorite word.
Well, and that's kind of what it becomes. So, all right, let's take a look at our longer shots for the win. Also, we have Ross Chastain and Chase Elliott both coming in at 20-1. Chase Briscoe is 25. Josh Berry, Alex Bowman, Ryan Preece, Ty Gibbs, Michael McDowell, Carson Hocevar, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Todd Gilliland are all 30-1. And the field, which has about 13 drivers, and right offhand, I can mention the Dillons, Zane Smith, Noah Gragson, AJ Allmendinger, Riley Herbst, a number of guys that are in this. Shane Van Gisbergen are all in the field. Cole Custer's in the field.
There's a lot
John
of names.
Hunter Nemechek is in the field.
Look,
Daniel Suarez is in the field.
This is from the South Point, and there is a lot of names that are sitting in the field right now. That Noah Gragson finished 3rd in this race last year. Anthony Alfredo finished 6th in my Mighty Beard Oil 62 last year. Gilliland, how great he's run at these places. Now Todd had an odd.
Yeah, Todd there 30-1.
But Noah, Riley, but Daniel Suarez, who's been great at these places. There are some names. Remember, I won a field bet. I think was it Talladega field bet I won?
Harrison Burton won a field bet for you.
Yeah, Daytona.
I think it was either Daytona.
To get himself in the deal. Mm-hmm. So I don't dislike the field today. They've left me 14 drivers, and you've given me on those names. You give me Noah, you give me Austin Dillon, you give me Daniel Suarez. Just those 3 drivers
AJ
alone.
Allmendinger too.
And Dinger. Those 4 drivers would have been in a 30 to 20-1 range. I'm getting all 4 of them. I've made my own little group matchup here in the field. I like the field. I think this is a great place to put a field bet down.
And another guy who has been fairly consistent this year, Zane Smith. There's another guy that's also
you've won a lot of bets with Zane. You've said that. You've been high on Zane Smith.
Who I think has done better. The one other name that kind of jumps out at me on just the fact that he's on page 2 here, 2-time winner here, Chase Elliott. And I expect the Hendrick cars I'm not sure where I fall on Larson, but I think the Hendrick car, look, Byron is going to run well. There's no question. And I expect Chase Elliott to be able to stick right there with Byron.
By the way, speaking of Byron, number 1 point getter, last 10 races at Talladega. 10 races, 6 top 10s, 4 top 5s, no wins. Only person in a single-digit average finish 9.9.
And that's the first time we've mentioned his name on the show right now. So, all right, let's take a look at our odds for top threes. And we start off with Ryan Blaney as a plus 275. Kyle Busch and Joey Logano are plus 300. Brad Keselowski, William Byron at plus 350. You know, it was really nice now that they zoomed in on our screen and I can actually read it now. You know, I was
showing our age.
Well, I was actually looking to see if I had binoculars under the table.
I got them right here if you need it.
So, Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin are plus 400. Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott, Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric, all at 450. Bubba Wallace and Alex Bowman are 550. Michael McDowell at 600. And Todd Gilliland makes the top page at plus 700.
You know, people that listen on SiriusXM miss a lot of the fun that we have in studio. We have a lot of odd, quirky things here, especially from behind the glass. You know, I look at this, and we're going to start off first. A top three. I just gave you the William Byron stat. Only guy in single digits. He's 350. That's at Talladega. That's a great number for just a top three. And we always talk about shopping your bets around, right? If you're telling me that you can give me Austin Cindric at plus 450 for a top three, what am I going to find him for a top 5 at or a top 10 on DraftKings? These come from DraftKings. You know, you still might find a plus number next to their name. So you got to shop your lines, but I like the Tyler Reddick who won this race last year at plus 450. I do like that one, and I do like the William Byron at 350.
Well, you know, and a guy we really haven't talked very much about on this show, sitting there at plus 400 also, is Denny Hamlin. I mean, we saw Denny, and look, I know Martinsville and Bristol are very different in Talladega, but Denny adapts everywhere he goes. Denny is a guy who seems to embrace this sort of racing, even though he doesn't usually embrace it until the last 40 laps, because he usually tends to be one of those ride around the back. And, you know, I've seen a number of drivers try to do that ride around the back strategy, and it's really backfired on them. But I've also seen some of them have great success with it.
I loved it.
You know, the guy I used to feel so bad for who did it a couple times and it always backfired back in the day was Dale Jarrett. You know,
DJ it never worked for DJ.
It never worked for DJ.
Never worked for him
when he was in the back. When DJ got up front, DJ could win those things. You know, sometimes DJ said, "I'm going to ride around the back," and it seemed like they found him. And of course, we also remember was a couple years ago the Toyota teams were all going to pit together. They were going to ride around in the back, and then they all wrecked each other. Running together,
which is one of the things we haven't talked about with some of our betting. We'll get to that later in the group matchups more. But remember, the group, the manufacturer pit deal and the manufacturer racing deal, that goes into a big deal, right? When we're talking about how to make your bets, right? Because it gets tough when you one Ford wrecks and it takes 8 out. Well, that diversify your bet.
Correct. All right, let's look at our longer odds for top threes. Ross Chastain and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. plus 800. Chris Buescher's 850. Ty Dillon is 10-1. Ty Gibbs, Josh Berry, Daniel Suarez, and Carson Hocevar 11-1. Ryan Preece and Austin Dillon are 12-1. Noah Gragson, Justin Haley, and AJ Allmendinger all 15-1. Cole Custer is 18-1. Zane Smith and Riley Herbst at 20-1. And you know, Justin Haley is a guy who's won on a super speedway who is also in the field bet that we didn't mention.
And you know, I look, same guys we talked about on the field. I love that there's an Austin Dillon at 12, a Noah Gragson at 15, a Justin Haley at 15, a AJ Allmendinger. Even going to the other side, Ty Gibbs off a good run, young, aggressive kid. If he can channel that aggression, he's at 11-1. There are some names. Daniel Suarez 11-1. Carson Hocevar has been running great. So top threes are a large list of guys that I would bet, which is why it is difficult to bet top threes here.
Well, and I agree. It's hard to bet top threes, but kind of like I was saying with the race a couple of weeks ago, I think it was Martinsville, I said somebody who's a double-digit guy will finish in the top three. And I feel the same way here. I feel the same way
Look
here
at these names.
Somebody on
Josh
this
Berry,
page.
Daniel Suarez, Carson Hocevar, Austin Dillon, Noah Gragson. One of them, AJ Allmendinger. One of them.
Justin Haley.
Yeah, one of those will be
any of those guys. That's good. All right, we come back. We'll talk a little bit about head-to-heads, but then we'll get into our favorites, the group matchups. Welcome back into Gone Racing. Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan, and two on a two
shot.
Yeah,
that's the Oreo cream camera.
Yeah, those listening on radio could care less about our 2 on a 2 shot right now.
Listen, you want to broaden your horizons. You know, when you got to learn new things. I mean, like taking dude wipes to the desert. It works really well when you're racing the desert. You wipe your face after a ride.
See, we're two on a 2-shot, and there's 3 cameras. And here's the other interesting thing. Now, I've done some TV stuff before, and typically the camera you were on was the one where the light came on.
There's no light.
Well, there are 3
there
lights.
are 3 lights.
And they're all 3 green.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
So is this like surround video? Is this kind of like...
now if you're watching the stream,
like
she's now Anna's having fun. She's going back and forth between all the cameras too. Yeah, there you go.
There we go. So, okay.
Hey, you can see my helmet in the little bitty corner, the Michael Gaughan helmet. There it is, right over there. Hi.
Well, it's a good thing we have faces made for radio.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Which is
why we get nobody watching the stream, and we do so well on Sirius XM. Okay, let's get to the next round.
Don't say that. Come on now. Jeez, that's so much for job security.
Well, we're the cheapest show they got.
Well, there is that. So. Okay, let's talk about our head-to-heads for just a couple seconds. Brendan, this is a shocker. We actually have 2 guys on plus lines at head-to-head at Talladega. I can't recall the last time I saw that. Now, it's funny. They're all going against their own teammates. It's Austin Cindric and Joey Logano, both at plus 110 against Ryan Blaney.
And I get it. It's deserved. Ryan Blaney, I mean, 2 wins in the last 10 races here, and he's 5 top 5s, 4 top 10s. They deserve it. But Austin Cindric, no slouch, and neither is Joey Logano. And it's a plus line at Talladega. So you're giving me a head-to-head matchup at Talladega. We never see a plus line at Daytona or Talladega. You're giving me a plus line. I can promise you I will be on one of these 2 picks. I'm just trying to weed my way through the data to see which one I want.
Now, let me ask you this. If Logano, Cindric, and Blaney are all lined up at the end, who wins?
Whoever's in the front.
Where'd you park your squad car, Dick Tracy? I'm just asking you. Who do you think would win out of those 3? I mean, who's going to be the most aggressive? Is going to be teammates?
None of them. Not a single. They will make a move after the tri-oval as long as there is no line of Chevrolets on the outside of them. If they are sitting nose to tail 1, 2, 3 and clear, it's a battle royale. If they're sitting 1, 2, 3 and there's a group of Toyotas or Chevrolets right off their corner, they will. This is what is the fun and the not fun about racing at Daytona and Talladega, and I've been part of this. I've been part of it as a team, and I've been part of it as a hired killer. And it's more fun. Both ways are fun. But when the guy in front of you doesn't know for sure, that really makes it fun. I mean, when I can go with anybody, that's great.
I guess my thought is, you give me the 3 Penske guys all even coming to the checkers, I'm taking Logano.
If I'm talking aggression, I'm taking Logano.
I'm just saying. The other guys are good. I'm taking Logano.
It just, to me, it depends on where the other people are. They're situational. But of the 3 drivers, who's the most aggressive? Oh, by far, Joey. I mean, come on. Joey's how many instances we had with Joey versus how many instances you had with Ryan Blaney or Austin Cindric. I mean, those 2 guys.
No, just saying. Okay. Do we want to talk about any more head-to-heads? You got anything else that moves your needle?
Nothing moves my needle. Those were the only 2. Yeah, Joey Logano, both plus 110 against them. The rest are even monies or minus 110s across the board.
I will say, Denny Hamlin minus 110 against Kyle Busch.
Kyle doesn't notoriously like this place. Hasn't in a long time.
Like, Kyle ought to have a plus line beside his name.
Denny Hamlin is minus 120 to an even money Chris Buescher. I like Chris Buescher at even money. That's not terrible. Chris Buescher even money versus Kyle Busch. I don't mind that. That's a straight 1-to-1, but that's I'm not betting them. But I'll bet one of the 2 plus lines because of Talladega. Absolutely.
All right, let's move along to our first groups. Now, Group A is, we got a little bit of a separation here in Group A, which is a little bit surprising. Ryan Blaney, an overwhelming favorite here at plus 220. His 2 teammates, Cindric and Logano, are both plus 280. And their former teammate, Brad Keselowski, the 6-time winner, have I said that before on the show, at plus 300.
Okay, so let's take my first theory. Manufacturer.
Well, that's out the window.
They're all 4.
Got all 4 Fords.
Okay. 3 of them drive for Penske, 1 drives for himself. Okay, I can give a differentiation here. Brad Keselowski's hungry. You put the deal of Blaney, Cindric, and Logano in a line. Blaney, Cindric, Logano in a line, and Brad Keselowski's near that line.
Okay, well, now I'm going to switch my pick.
There you go.
He was not one of the choices before.
And look, you're giving me a plus 300 now. There's some juice in this squeeze. Brad Keselowski, no slouch. Brad Keselowski been very vocal about his performance versus some of his teammates where they've been running well.
Butcher and Priest have probably been having a better year.
And so I think Brad Keselowski, this is a place that he could turn around. He loves this type of racing. He's aggressive, and it's all Fords. They'll all be in that group. And if there's one that will be missing from part of that group, it'll be Brad, because he has his own teammates that he'll be running with. So if there is a Penske, accident, that leaves Brad left running lone. I love Brad Keselowski at plus 300. I've never seen a plus 300 at a Talladega or Daytona. I love that number.
I like that number a lot too. I'm totally with you there. I wish I could disagree and give us a little banter and debate on this one, but look, it's a great number to get a plus 280 on Joey Logano at Talladega.
Absolutely.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That is a great number. And in fact, a plus 220 on Ryan Blaney is not even a bad number at Talladega, but plus 300 for Brad Keselowski.
I love it.
I'm with you.
I love it.
I love it. All right, let's take a look at Group B. And speaking of Brad Keselowski, one of his drivers, his teammate, Chris Buescher, along with Kyle Busch, are plus 265. Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell both come in at plus 270.
Tough one to handicap. Kyle Busch doesn't notoriously like these places, but as of recently, Jeff, because RCR and him it's been down a little bit for him. He has taken a bigger liking to these places again. He has one win in the last 10 races here. Talladega 2022. He did win at Richard Childress. So there is a win here in recent memory. So if I went off, I've got a Ford, a Chevrolet, and 2 Toyotas. I don't dislike Kyle Busch 265, but I do like Chris Buescher a lot. And Denny and Christopher Bell, this whole deal, they're all right there with each other. The furthest down is Christopher Bell has the deepest average finish of the 4. But I'm not betting it. But if I was to say, if there's a weekend, it's Kyle Busch, because Kyle needs it more than the rest.
See, I like Denny here. I like Denny because I'm getting a plus 270. Denny's won here, on several occasions. Denny's comfortable here. Mm-hmm. And Denny's a guy that tends to stay out of trouble at Daytona and Talladega. And I know we talk about the crapshoot thing, but Denny does not seem to get caught up in quite as many of those big wrecks as some of the other guys do. And I don't know if that's the way he runs, where he runs, or what. But Denny Hamlin, to me, a plus 270 against 3 guys that, I don't know. I like Denny a lot better right here.
I can't disagree with your logic there either. I don't dislike it. For me, the most hungry there is Kyle.
All right, let's take a look over here at our Group C, where Bubba Wallace is the favorite at plus 260. William Byron, Kyle Larson, and Tyler Reddick are all at plus 270. Not
a lot of spread here, but you're telling me the guy that won this race in the spring last year is the tied for the dog? I love Tyler Reddick. The only problem I have is the best point getter here in the last 10 races, William Byron. So he's going up against the guy that I've said is the best. And let's take restrictor plate race or super speedway racing as a whole. Who's the number 1 point getter? William Byron. 2 wins, 7 top 10s in the last 10 races. So I love Tyler Reddick. I love William Byron. I can't pick between the 2 of them. So for that choice, I look and I go, okay, well, Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick are teammates. That doesn't help. William Byron and Kyle Larson are teammates. That don't help. So I don't know if I can split between Byron and Reddick.
It's interesting. If it were me, I would take this group right here, remove Kyle Larson, put them as Group B with Denny Hamlin, and take the other 3 guys out of B and put them in C. Because to me, Bubba Wallace, look, Larson, love Kyle Larson.
But he doesn't like this place.
But he doesn't like this place. It's not his kind of track. Bubba, Byron, and Reddick, to me, those 3 guys all not only capable of winning Group C, they're capable of winning the race.
Yes.
Byron has shown what he can do on these big tracks, and Bubba and Tyler both have won at Talladega. So to me, I agree with you. This is a very, very difficult one to handicap. Probably if you had to say, okay, you got to take one, I'd probably go Byron because I'm erasing Larson and I'm going to take the 2 Toyotas out and go with the other Chevy driver. But it's a toughie. All right, let's move along here to Group D, where Ross Chastain and Chase Elliott are the co-favorites at plus 250. Josh Berry is plus 285, and Chase Briscoe at plus 290. Now you got 2 Chevys, a Ford, and a Toyota, so there goes your manufacturer out the window.
But something to me, you're giving me 290 in a head-to-head at Chase Briscoe. You and I have talked about Chase Briscoe. He showed up last weekend. Now, does last weekend and this weekend have anything to do with each other? Not one bit. But Chase Briscoe, 4 top 10s in the last 10 restrictor plate races. He runs well at these places. 8 starts, 2 top 10s here at Talladega, 1 top 5. You're giving me 290. It's a deep number. The only thing is Chase Elliott is the second best point getter here with 1 win, 4 top 10s in the last 10 races. So that's the only thing that gives me pause. But Chase lately, 29, 15, 7, and 12. So I don't know. I just, for some reason, I'm like, but Josh Berry scares me in there. I think Josh Berry could be a crapshoot number on this one. But I like Chase Briscoe, 290. The juice. We always talk about return, right? Especially at Daytona and Talladega. Where's my return? They're very small returns at this place. 290 is enough of a enticement to put me on it.
So the guy that I like here is Chase Elliott because I get
best point getter.
I get to have Chase Elliott in Group D.
That's another good, well put.
Look, Barry. To me, Barry is the wild card here because we talk about how well the Fords run.
This car won Daytona in the walk-off.
Correct. So I think to me that's where I see as a wild card here is Josh Berry. Briscoe, Ross.
I just something about Briscoe to me is starting to come around. He's starting to perform like we wanted.
Well, and I think he said earlier in the year, he said that the way they set up a car and the way that he liked to drive a car, the two did not jive. And so the more and more
and guess what?
Time,
it doesn't really matter at Talladega.
Well, exactly. I mean, Talladega, you got to kind of make sure you're in the right line, and you got to know who your friends are.
Make sure your belts are tight and your seat insert's the right size.
Yeah. So I mean, I think this is also another tough group, really, to pick. But I'm going to lean Chase Elliott in this group.
I second best point getter. I can't knock it.
All right. We come back for our final segment of Gone Racing. We had 2 groups left. We'll give you the manufacturer props, tell you how we did last week, and give you our picks.
Whoa!
Wow. Well,
hey now, welcome back in.
There's a lot of screaming going on.
I think she's saying that we have not had our usual Gone Racin' dude wipe energy going on. It's been kind of a subdued show. Has it been a little subdued show? The glass?
Subdued show?
Yeah, it's been a subdued show. Probably been really good on Sirius XM. It's been like an actual informational, normal, like giving you odds show.
You done?
Ann woke me up there. I was like, whoa.
Yep. We had a lot of yelling going on behind the cameras, not behind
the glass. Behind the glass. There's glass. Yep. TV's glass.
So if you just tuned in, it's Jeff Motley and Brendan Gaughan, and we're in our final segment of Gone Racing this week, talking all things Talladega Speedway, trying to talk about Talladega. And we got a couple groups left, so let's move along to our Group E, where Michael McDowell and Alex Bowman are both plus 265, and Ty Gibbs and Ryan Preece are plus 270.
Hard for me to handicap this one because they're all over the board. Ty Gibbs, he has 1 top 10 in the super speedway races in his short career on the big tracks. Ty has probably the most teammates. Ryan Preece, Bowman, they all got teammates. I don't know.
I like Preece here.
Do you?
You know why I like Preece? For the first time, he's in an RFK car, which we know is going to be strong. I think I like Preece here. Forget all of his past.
I was going to say,
stats.
here's the problem that gets me with Preece. His recent history has been very painful.
I just think he is in a much better car, and I also think he is racing with more confidence.
I don't disagree.
He's in the top 16 of points right now.
I'm going to take the opposite of this and say I would pull Ryan Preece out of this. Ryan Preece's last 2 wrecks at these tracks have been nothing short of horrific. In my mind, there's only so many hits you can take in a place like this that violent. And so I'm going to say that I would struggle with Preece because of that. That's the only separation I can give. Alex Bowman, average finish 18.7. Ty Gibbs, he's only got a couple, 5 data points, 27.4. Michael McDowell is probably if really Michael McDowell be the guy. Michael McDowell's the guy that waits in the back and finishes in the top 5. So if I'm picking anybody, it's the guy with 10 races, 2 top 10, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s at Talladega, and that's McDowell.
Well, I didn't say I'm going so far as to pick him in my picks, but I liked Preece here. So,
right.
All right. Our final group is Group F, where Carson Hocevar, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Todd Gilliland all at plus 265, Noah Gragson at plus 275.
Another one that at a place like this, chasing down the stats is kind of all over the board. The only name that you and I both can jump on right off the bat is Ricky, right? Ricky, 11th best point getter. Last 10 super speedway races, 2 wins, 3 top 10s at super speedways. Go down to Talladega, and Ricky is 9th best point getter, 1 win, 3 top 5s, 3 top 10s. Ricky is in Group F with that history. You got to lean towards Ricky.
Yeah, I like Ricky here a lot, and I think for Ricky, he's probably also got this circled saying, "Hey, if I'm going to make the playoffs,
and that's what he did last year.
If I'm going to make the playoffs, this is one I better win." So definitely like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. there in Group F. All right, let's take a quick look at our manufacturer props. Chevy is the favorite at plus 130. Ford is plus 150, and Toyota is getting a whopping plus 270.
Look, this is a numbers game, Jeff. This is what gambling is. It's always a numbers game. And you're saying there are more Toyotas or more Fords and Chevys in the field than there are Toyotas. Period. That is the be all end all of how the manufacturer prop goes. More Chevrolets, second most Toyotas, most Fords, third most is Toyota. So that's the odds. Toyota's got a lot of strong guys. If they don't wreck each other like they did a couple years ago, they're always strong. They always have a great pit strategy, and it works in their favor because when Chevrolet has to pit, they tell all their teams pit, pit, pit. There's 18 teams coming to pit road all at once, hitting each other, sliding at each other, blocking each other out of the pit box. It always seems to be the Fords that break off into 2 groups and try to limit that mistake.
We know the Toyotas will probably stay together.
And the Toyotas, there's only 8. So they always try to go all at the same time. So, I think that, I guess there's more than 8 now, but in the end, it's a much smaller field. So Toyota has the advantage there, but the Fords, there's a lot of Fords I like. There's a lot of guys up there that can win this in a Ford, and you're getting the second best number. So I don't dislike Ford or the Toyota.
Well, and I like the Toyota here just because I feel like in terms of quality drivers,
quality team driver, you've got it.
I think the quality of drivers is probably pretty comparable in all 3 groups. So
I don't
plus 270.
disagree.
I get Denny. I get Bubba and Reddick. And
Reddick won this race last year. Bubba's almost, has won a Talladega race before. You got Denny Hamlin won races. You've got a lot of guys that have won in a Toyota camp at plus 270. It's a great bet.
Yeah, I like that one. So, all right, championship odds. Not really much to talk about. Championship odds.
There's still some guys that are value. Tyler Reddick is still 10-1. He is value at that number. Josh Berry been coming down since the season started because of that win. He's down to 30. But there's guys,
the defending champ and 3-time champ is 18-1.
18-1, and that's gone up. So to me right now, bet Joey Logano. There's your hedge. There's your guy right there. Get that Joey Logano bet in because I promise you that is only going to get smaller and smaller and smaller because what does Joey do when the playoffs hit?
He performs.
He performs, baby.
Absolutely.
So I love that.
And we got a guy who is qualified for the playoffs already at 30-1.
You got a couple of them. Josh Berry, 30-1.
That's what I was referring to. Josh Berry's already qualified, and he's 30-1. So
there's some numbers that will shrink as the season goes on. This is a good way to hedge now. Take it while you can.
Yep, no question about that. All right, let's take a look at how we did on coming off the last race at Bristol. I think I mentioned the fact that I got a W.
You did get a W. You had the winner at plus 500.
That's about all I got.
That's okay. It still gave you 1 unit.
Kyle Larson did win the race there. Definitely lost in some other groups. Had a little too much faith in Josh Berry at a short track. I really was expecting a little bit more out of him. Byron had a great run, but ended up not winning his group because I think he was in the same group with somebody else, but he did not win. All right, let's take a look and see how your picks
How about that top 3? That Ty Gibbs. I said Ty Gibbs, baby. Give me that top 3.
You put your put the chips in the Ty Gibbs basket there, plus 550. Got a 6.5 on your return there, so good win for you.
I was looking good with Keselowski until he booted the whole thing for us with the tire, but that was good. Boucher, we all went in on Gilliland. You talked me into Gilliland. Way to go! I go into Gilligan, and Gilligan has a terrible day.
Yeah, it was not a good day for him. I don't know. What did the pit crew? Is the pit crew?
Pit crew is all. They don't. I don't believe if you're watching the Gone Racin YouTube channel, you're not going to see the pit crew. They do not want. It's amazing when they control the stuff behind the glass. It's amazing. If you and I went 0 for 5, that would be bold, big on that screen, right? It'd be top 5.
Even Mario Mendoza got a hit once every 5 at bats.
Well, they're still positive for the season. If you take the standings for the season, they are still at positive Oh, Jeff Motley.
Look at
Oh,
that.
look at this new graphics. Hold
Look
on,
at this.
Sirius XM, you're missing out.
Season total
20.15.
There we
Jeff
go.
Motley is in the lead in the green car.
Brendan, is that a yellow
That
car?
looks like
It
South
looks
Point
like
Gold.
a
South Point Gold,
highlighter.
baby.
Look like a
15,
giant
15.
highlighter
I'm right
there.
behind you. I'm catching you, Jeff.
Yep, you are.
And the pit crew.
The sad orange car.
But it's still plus. It's still a plus line.
They are on the plus line.
It's still a plus line. So the crew is still alive on the plus side, but they bet, hey, of all the weeks to have to get a W to stay on the positive, this is a rough week for them to do it.
Yes, it is. All right. I'm going to read off the pit crew picks for this week.
Fresh off the press.
They are taking the field for a winner. They like that one at 20-1.
Stealing my bet. Come on.
Trying to get it all back at once. They like the Logano over Blaney pick in the head-to-heads at plus 110. They like the plus 300 on Brad Keselowski in Group A, going Chase Elliott in Group D, and Toyota to win as a winner, plus 270. And this is very disappointing because I'm going to have three of the same bets as
I'm very unhappy with the. I feel like I'm going to have a very bad week now. My picks just really. Can I like change? Do I have enough time? What do we got? 4 minutes. I don't know if I have enough time to go through and change.
No. You run with what you got now.
I'm very unhappy. Okay. I also am taking the field. Here's the deal. You've left me 5 guys we named in this show. A couple of them that have won here. AJ Allmendinger had dominated in the Xfinity Series with that colleague team when they were crushing everybody here. So I do love that field bet. I think it's a great bet. Then I'm going to take the other head-to-head. I've got Cindric versus Blaney at plus 110. I think he's got less pressure. I am also taking Brad Keselowski. That 300 is low-hanging fruit. I've got to do it. I'm going to go head-to-head with them in Group D. I'm taking Chase Briscoe at plus 290. And then because I feel my other 2 cohorts here are going the other way, I am taking a Ford for victory at plus 150. I want to take Stenhouse, but every time I bet Stenhouse, he does a Stenhouse move and ends up with the opposite of what he does when he wins or he, wrecks me and flips me. So I'm afraid to take, even though he's in Group F, I should take him. I'm going Ford 150.
Well, I wanted to point out to make sure if Ricky was listening that he knew it was you who said that, but you really don't care.
No, I might give a poop meter. It went out with the dude wipes. I wiped it away.
All right. I also am with the pit crew on the Joey Logano plus 110 over Ryan Blaney.
Not doing the field. Staying out of the field.
I am not doing the field bet. I am going Denny Hamlin in Group B. It looks like I might be the only one, I think, picking Group B. So I'll do like Denny there in Group B. I am with the pit crew again and going Group D and going with Chase Elliott. I'm going to go Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in Group F. So,
and I like that bet. I really wish I took that instead of the Ford, but I'm sticking with Ford.
And I am going to go Toyota to win. I kind of like. I guess I made the case for Toyota, before we started making our picks, that I feel like the quality of drivers are very comparable in all 3 series. So give me the one that's plus 270.
I don't dislike it. That's the maths on that one, so to speak.
No, you're right. Which is kind of the way I'm looking at it. So, all right, we got about 45 seconds left in the show. Talladega is one of the places you look. Are you going down there? Your car's running this week.
My doctor's visit yesterday did not go as well as I was hoping, so I got one more visit this week. I cannot make it with the Mighty Beard 62. So D. Shaw, Mrs. Beard, Amy, Mark, they're going to have to. They're running without
Pasta,
me.
Anthony Alfredo's
Fast Pasta's
in the car
running for us.
week.
Yep. So we got
there.
the Mighty Beard Oil 62. Beautiful paint scheme, Fortify business, building solutions on there. So beautiful paint scheme. Got my gold 62 on it too. I kind of like it. So good luck to my 62. Good luck to everybody else, but go Fast Pasta.
And so they're going to run a couple other races this year.
Jesse Love going to run Texas and Brickyard.
Poor Jesse got disqualified last week after winning Xfinity.
Old Danny Stockman, old Danny. You remember old Danny?
Yeah, tough day.
Orleans Racing Day.
All right, that'll do it for this week. I don't even know where we're going next week. Texas. We'll come back. We'll break down Talladega and we'll talk Texas.